everyone. Today we are going to see verbs and types of verbs. First, we are going to see what is parts of speech. Words are divided according to their positions and usages in a sentence. This is called parts of speech. So what is parts of speech? Words are divided according to their positions and usages in a sentence. This is called parts of speech. Usually, parts of speech tell us how a word is used in a sentence. In other words, words are divided into different kinds or classes called parts of speech according to their use, that is, according to the work they do in a sentence. The parts of speech are 8 in number. So, there are 8 parts of speech in the English language: noun, verb, adjective, conjunction, preposition, interjection, pronoun, and adverb. Each part of speech has a specific use or function. In general, noun is a naming word which is the name of something. A pronoun replaces a noun. An adjective describes something. A verb is an action or state of being. An adverb normally describes a verb or sometimes gives more information about an adjective. Preposition shows a relationship or connection between things. A conjunction is a joining words. They connect two parts of a sentence. A interjection expresses strong feelings or emotions. Now, a verb shows an action or a state of being. It can show what someone or something is doing. Examples: go, speaking, ate, lived, been, is. Example sentence: I study their charts and play their games. For example, he eats a mango. So here, eats is a verb. So, what is a verb? Verbs are action words like shout, jump, run, and eat. They tell us what is happening in the sentence. They also sometimes tell us about a state of being. Verbs are one of the two main parts of a sentence along with nouns. You need a noun and a verb to make a complete sentence. So students, verbs are the most important component of any sentence. These words talk about the action or the state of any noun or subject. This means that verbs show what the subject is doing or what is the state or situation of the subject. For example, he ran to the store. Here, the verb ran describes the action of the subject, he. The next example sentence is, she is a creative person. Here, there is no action being done. Instead of, the auxiliary verb is shows the state of the subject, she, as being creative. Next, we are going to see types of verbs. There are different types and classifications of verbs. Some of the most important ones are listed below. The first one is action verbs. These verbs talk about what the subject is doing in the sentence. Action verbs are one of the most easily identifiable types of verbs. So, to recognize them, students, you simply have to look for the word in the sentence that answers the question, what is the subject doing? For example, Rose is painting the kitchen walls. The subject here is Rose. And what is Rose doing? Rose is painting. Hence, painting is our action verb. The next example sentence is, my dog is sleeping on the sofa. The subject here is dog. And what is the dog doing? The dog is sleeping. So, sleeping is our action verb. There are two types of action verbs which describe the verb and the subject doing the action and the object on which the action is done. They are transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. First, we are going to learn about transitive verbs. This verb is always followed by a noun that's receiving the action called the direct object. Example sentence, I patted my dog's head. Here, the verb is patted and the noun that's receiving this action is my dog's head, which is the direct object of the action verb. Sometimes an object can be indirect, such as when you are expressing to whom the action is being done. So, transitive verbs are verbs that express action with an object. For example, I threw the ball. Here, threw is a transitive verb. The ball is a noun. It is considered as object. The next example sentence is, we beat them. Here, beat is a transitive verb. Them is a pronoun. It is considered as object. In simple sense, what is a transitive verb? Action that have a direct object to receive that action. So, transitive verb means it is an action verb with the direct object. Let's see the example sentence. The man loves his children. Here, love is the action performed by the man, which is the subject in this case, and it has a receiver, which is children. As the man is the subject who is doing the action of love, and it has the direct object children, so it is the transitive verb. Let's look into some more sentence examples having transitive verb. The first example sentence is, the doctor cured him. Here, cured is the action and him is the direct object, so it is a transitive verb. Let's look into next example sentence. She crossed the street. Here, crossed is the action and street is the direct object, so it is the transitive verb. The next sentence is, Rohan kicked the ball. Here, kicked is the action performed by Rohan and ball is the direct object on which the action is performed, so it is a transitive verb. Next, we are going to learn about intransitive verbs. When an action verb has no direct object, it is called an intransitive verb. Intransitive verbs can be followed by an adverb or adverb phrase, but there will never be a direct object. Example sentences: Matthew runs quickly away. Here, the verb is runs, and the phrase quickly away tells us more about the verb, but there is no object here to receive the action. So, intransitive verbs are verbs that express action without an object. For example, I ran. So, in simple words, what is an intransitive verb? Action that doesn't have a direct object to receive that action. So, intransitive verb means it is an action verb without the direct object. Let's look into the sentence example. Snow fell yesterday. Here, snow is the subject and fell is the action, but we cannot say the snow fell on whom. In other words, there is no direct object to receive the action, so it is a intransitive verb. Let's look into some more sentence examples having intransitive verbs. The first example sentence is we failed. Here, failed is intransitive verb as there is no direct object linked with it. Let's look into next example sentence. She is sleeping. Here, sleeping is intransitive verb as there is no direct object linked with she. The next example sentence is they work hard. Here also work is intransitive verb as there is no direct object after the verb work. Next, let's see about dynamic and stative verbs. This category of verbs deals with the verb words themselves and whether they indicate an action or a state of the subject. This category is not concerned with the object in particular. First, we have to know what is a dynamic verb. These verbs denote an actual action or expression or process done by the subject. They mean an action which can be seen or physically felt, or the result of which is seen or physically felt by the object or an indirect object. Example sentences: she buys new clothes every week. Here, the verb is buys, which is an action done by the subject she, hence it is a dynamic verb. The next example sentence is he is swimming at the beach. Here again, we have the definite action swimming done by the subject he, making swimming a dynamic verb in this sentence. First, we have to know what is a stative verb. These verbs refer to the state of the subject or the situation of the subject. Stative verbs tell us about the state of mind of the subject or the relation between the subject and the object. For example, she prefers strawberry jam. Here, the stative verb is prefers, which shows the thinking of the subject, she, towards the object, which is jam. The next example sentence is, the cupboard requires a new coat of paint. Here, the subject is cupboard and the stative verb is requires, which is telling about the relation between the subject cupboard and the object paint. Next, we are going to see types of verbs as a whole. Verbs are divided into two types, lexical verb and auxiliary verb. Lexical verb is otherwise called as main verbs. Examples are work, study, read, etc. All these words can exist independently and provide complete meaning to the sentence. Next, we have auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verb is further subdivided into two types, primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries is further subdivided into three, like be verbs, do verbs and have verbs. In past form, we have was, were. In present form, we have am, is, or. In do verbs, in past form, we have did. In present form, we have do, does. In have form of verb, in past form, we have had. In present form, we have as or have. Next, modal auxiliaries. In past form, we have could, would, might, ought to, had to. In present form, can, will, shall, may, must, as to, have to. Next, we are going to learn about two types of verbs. Verbs are mainly divided into two types. The first one is main verbs and the other one is auxiliary verbs or helping verbs. First, let's see about main verbs. Main verb is also called principal verb. It indicates the action of subject. It indicates the time, that is past, present and future. Words that actually shows the action or activity of subject. For example, Veera plays cricket. They can stand alone without the help of any other verbs. Here, they refers to main verbs. So, main verbs can stand alone without the help of any other verbs. Examples: read, sleep, eat, run. All these words can exist independently and provide complete meaning to the sentence. Next, we are going to learn about auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs is also called as helping verbs. It is used to indicate the tense of the main verb. It does not carry any meaning on its own. Auxiliary verbs or helping verbs help the main verb to describe action. That action happened in the past, or is happening in the present or will happen in the future. For example, Guna is studying. Here, is a auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verbs are also called helping verbs. They have no meaning on their own. They are necessary for the grammatical structure of a sentence, but they do not tell us very much alone. We usually use helping verbs with main verbs. They help the main verb, which has the real meaning. There are two types of auxiliary verbs. The first one is primary auxiliaries and the second one is modal auxiliaries. In today's class, we are going to learn primary auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries. The auxiliaries be, have and do are called primary auxiliaries. So what are primary auxiliaries? Be verbs, have verbs and do verbs are called primary auxiliaries. The different forms of the auxiliary be are am, is, are, was, were, being and been. The different forms of the auxiliary have are as, had and having. The other forms of do are does and did. Next, we are going to see function of auxiliaries. The first function is auxiliary verbs are used to form tenses. Example, she is cooking. Here, the auxiliary is combines with the present participle cooking to form the present continuous tense. So what is mean by the present participle? The present participle is always formed by adding the suffix ing to a verb. The next example sentence is he had written the book. Here, the auxiliary had combines with the past participle written to form the past perfect tense. So what is mean by past participle? Past participle is often but not always formed by adding the suffix ed to a verb. The second function is auxiliaries are used in short answers to avoid repetition. Example sentences: can you sing and dance? No, I can't. Primary auxiliaries. The auxiliary be, in other words, be verbs am, is, are, was, were. Now let's see the functions of the auxiliary be. The first function is to form tenses, especially continuous tenses. Example sentences are she is dancing, we are reading, they were shouting. Here is, are and were or be form of verbs. The next function is to convey instructions, decisions, plan, arrangement, agreement, etc. Example sentences are I am to go to England. My brother is to meet me at the airport. We are to be married next week. This sentence shows plan. So in these three sentences, am, is and are were be form of verbs. The second one is the auxiliary have. In other words, have verbs such as, had. Let's see the functions. The first function is to form present and past perfect tenses. Example sentences are, we have seen the accident. She has gone to market. We had forgotten to take umbrellas. I had lost the money on my way home. In these four sentences, have, as, had, were, have verbs. The second function is to express compulsion or obligation. Example sentences, I had to go to Delhi. She has to face me today. They had to leave the house. In these sentences, had and has, were, have form of verbs. The third function is have plus had. Sometimes have as an auxiliary verb combines with had, the past participle of the finite verb have. Example sentences are, I have had my breakfast. She has had a wash. We have had enough sweets. Third one is the auxiliary do. In other words, do form of verbs such as does, did. Let's see the functions. The first function is to form the negative and interrogative of the simple present and simple past tenses of ordinary verbs. Let's see the example sentences. She doesn't dance. She didn't dance. Does she dance? Did she dance? The second function is to avoid repetition in short answers. Example sentences are, do you know my address? Yes, I do. Did they finish the job? Yes, they did. Does she read well? No, she doesn't. Third function is for emphasis. Here, emphasis means stress or importance. Example sentences are, I do like her. He did shout. We do love him. Fourth function is to form question tags. Example sentences are, he studies well. Doesn't he? We work hard, don't we? She stayed here, didn't she? Next, we are going to see types of verbs as a whole. Verbs are divided into two types, lexical verb and auxiliary verb. Lexical verb is otherwise called as main verbs. Examples are work, study, read, etc. All these words can exist independently and provide complete meaning to the sentence. Next, we have auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verb is further subdivided into two types, primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries is further subdivided into three, like be verbs, do verbs and have verbs. In past form, we have was, were. In present form, we have am is or. In do verbs, in past form we have did. In present form we have do, does. In have form of verb, in past form we have had. In present form we have as or have. Next, modal auxiliaries. In past form we have could, would, might, ought to, had to. In present form can, will, shall, may, must, as to, have to. Modal auxiliaries. The auxiliaries will, would, shall, should, can, could, may, might, must, ought to, dare, need and used to are called modals or modal auxiliaries. Students, in the next class we will learn modal auxiliaries in detail. I have enclosed the classwork instructions in the PDF. Kindly refer it. So now we have reached the end of this session. Thank you.